You know, onions just don't get enough love. Sure, they're in every dish, they just don't play center stage. Yet, they're an ingredient that really deserve to have a bigger role in your cuisine. Welcome to Actually Italian. I'm Sal, and I'm on a mission to help you cook authentic Italian regional cuisine. I mean, who doesn't love a good French onion soup, though? So onions do have a lot to offer. So today, we're gonna make a pasta dish from Naples where onion is the star. Pasta alla genovese, with onions playing the main role. With some beef, it's a perfect long-cooked dish. Great for winter, great for your Sunday sauce. It takes a while to cook. Let's jump right in and see what the ingredients are. All right, let's start with the meat. So I'm using a piece of beef cheek here. It's a whole piece, but you can use any type of stewed beef that you like. I'd really recommend, if you don't have beef cheek, I'd recommend beef chuck beef, like a roast, because it has that collagen that you're looking for, and when it cooks, it just gets really tender. If you get a piece high up from the shoulder, that's gonna be better because that has a lot of that connective tissue. The one thing I'd say also is to stay away from like the package of stew beef that's already cut into chunks. Get a whole piece like this, and then cut it up yourself, because that way you know all the pieces are basically from the same cut, and they're all gonna cook the way that you want. So I'll break this down and I'll show you what it is that I'm looking for in the beef that's gonna make the dish. All right, if you do get beef cheek or a cut that's similar, we wanna take this silver skin off here. So what we wanna do is kind of get the knife under, very sharp knife by the way, and then just kind of peel it up, and then very close to the top, we wanna just pull it up and just kind of slide the knife through like that, and that'll take it off. So hopefully you can kind of see, like underneath that silver skin, see these lines there? That's that connective tissue. And that's what's gonna make this dish really work, because that's all gonna break down as it cooks low and slow. It's gonna add flavor, it's gonna add texture, and just a kind of a creaminess to the dish. So I'll take all this off, and then we'll cut it into pieces. So you can cut it into any size pieces that you want. I'm gonna go with, you can see how kind of tough this meat is. I'm gonna go with chunks about a couple inches long. So let me just show you, those are the bits there that you're looking for. You want that kind of cut of beef that's gonna have that. And also notice how red that the meat itself is, because this is a muscle that gets really worked. So that's tough right now. We could never just throw this on a grill and eat it. This has to be cooked for a couple of hours. That's gonna melt, this is gonna get tender, and the flavor is just gonna be out of this world. I also really like the beef cheek because I like using those kind of offcuts, because that's how you use the whole animal basically. If we're gonna be eating animals, we should be using the whole thing. So they might be hard to find depending on where you are. Where I am in Italy, this is how they eat, so it's very easy for me to get beef cheeks. But as I said, you can use any other cut that you like, as long as it has that kind of connective tissue. That's really what you want. Okay, onions, we need a ton of them. And I'm gonna slice them up, but basically if we're gonna go by weight, you need at least twice as much in weight of onions as you have of the beef. I'll leave a link in the description to the recipe so you can get all the measurement. And you can cut them any way you like. I'm just gonna slice them just so they still have a little bit of texture. So I'm literally just gonna slice them 1/4 of an inch thick. The key is to use good sweet onions. So I'm using these white onions today. You can use red onions if you want. I'd kind of stay away from the yellow onions because I feel like they can get a little bit bitter, because you really want the onions that are sweet, that are going to lend that kind of sweetness and creaminess even to the dish. So pick whatever onion you like, but just kind of keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to process these, and then we'll check back in a minute, talk about the pasta. If you were to get this in Naples, and the traditional pasta shape would be ziti. These are ziti here. So it's a pretty long pasta, as you can see, but you can use any type of pasta. You can use penne, you can use rigatoni, whatever you like. I like using the traditional pasta when it calls for it and when I can find it. This is kind of a rare pasta shape outside of Italy, but it's up to you, whichever one you like. All right, this takes a long time to cook, so let's head over to the stove. All right, so we're gonna get started on a heavy cast iron Dutch oven. Whatever you use, just make sure it's something that can handle a long and slow cooking process. So we've got it on about medium heat. I'm gonna add some sofrito here, which normally would be carrot, celery, and onion, but since we have so much onion, we just need the carrot and celery. I pulsed it up in a food processor until we got it into this kind of fine grate, because you don't want big chunks in this sauce. You want everything kind of homogeneous. So we'll add that in first, in a little bit of olive oil, and we're just gonna get it sweated. We're just gonna cook it down until it's soft and starts to take on a little bit of color. And then we're gonna add everything else after that. I'm gonna add the meat right into the pan. Now, normally I would brown the meat, but you don't really need to brown it in this case. It's gonna cook for so long, and the star of this show is the onions, so we don't need to add really any more depth of flavor than we're already gonna have. So get the meat in there, and then I'm gonna add some white wine. Doesn't matter what kind of wine you use, as long as it's a wine that you'd wanna drink. A dry white wine is better though, because you want some acidity, since this is gonna cook for so long. It's gonna work really well with the onions. All right, we don't even have to wait for this to evaporate. It's gonna cook for so long that the alcohol is pretty much gonna be gone by the time we're ready to eat. So let's get the onions in there. Pour those in. If you want a good cry, this is a great dish to make, to get it out. Just let it out. All right, so we got those in there. A couple of bay leaves, because they're small, one if it's big. And we're gonna salt it now. For two reasons. One, for seasoning, but also we want to get these onions to start releasing their liquid, because we're not adding any more liquid to this, potentially. We might have to, but in theory, we're not adding any more liquid, because there's so much liquid in these onions that it's gonna come out, and that's gonna be basically like the broth that the beef braises in. We're gonna cover it, and we're gonna let this go for about 2 hours. However, we do wanna check it periodically to make sure that it's not too dry, and see if we do need to add some water. Now we're gonna check it. It's been about 20 minutes. We wanna take a look. All right, so we've got quite a bit of liquid coming out there, but you know what? This is gonna stick to the bottom if we don't add a little bit more water. In fact, it's sticking a little bit there. So we need to add a little bit of water here. Oh, I forgot to mention too, we turn this down to a low heat, as low as your heat can go, because again, this is gonna cook for a while. So get some water in there, just enough to almost cover it, almost to the top, because again, this is gonna evaporate away too. Take a look, that's that gelatin that's already starting to break down. That's gonna end up in this sauce, and that's what's gonna make it feel so luscious. All right, we're gonna cover it back up again and let it go for another 20 minutes and keep checking. Essentially every 20 minutes we should check this for 2 hours. 2.5 hours later, this is what we've got. I only added water that one time. It ended up being too much, so I had to take the cover off about a half an hour ago. So this is pretty much the consistency that we're looking for, where it's kind of thick and creamy. Still some liquid there too. In fact, it's really creamy from those onions. But anyway, I had to take the cover off so that way I could let it reduce, because more of the moisture of the onions came out and it was too wet. This would have been done about a half an hour ago, but because I needed to let it reduce to get down to this point, it took about a half an hour longer to get there. We've got one more step with the sauce left to do, but I'm gonna do that in a minute. First, we're gonna get some pasta going. This is one of the few times that you're gonna see me breaking pasta, but we really need to. In fact, they're made to be broken to get them into more manageable pieces, otherwise it will be too hard to eat. This pasta is gonna cook for roughly 10 minutes. It's 11 minutes cooking time on the box, but we're gonna pull it at 10 minutes, a minute from being al dente, and then we'll finish cooking it in the sauce. While the pasta's cooking, we're gonna take this beef out. It's really soft and tender now. So we're gonna take it all out, we're gonna shred it up, and then we're gonna put it back in the sauce. Now, if we're doing this for kind of a big group, we probably would have had some big chunks of beef that we left whole rather than cut them into pieces like this. And then we would take that out, and that would actually be the second course. So this, because it's a pasta dish, is a first course, and then after this they would have some other kind of some other entree. In this case though, since I didn't make a ton of it, I'm just going to shred this up, and we're just going to focus on this being a first course for right now. I'm going to take a couple of forks and get this shredded up. All we have to do is, I mean, it's just, wow, look at that. It's just, I mean, it's falling apart. And you can see, hopefully, let me try that again. Like, when I pull it, see that there? That's that collagen. That's what you're looking for. That's what's going to make, oh, that's like when you eat chicken wings and you get that kind of, your lips get like kind of stuck together from them. That's from that. So we want all of that, and that's going to go right back into the sauce. This will also be the right kind of size for the pasta to be able to with just a fork, be able to get the pasta and the meat and the sauce all kind of in one bite, which is what we're looking for too. So we're just going to stir it all in, get it incorporated. I do have to get rid of these bay leaves though, so I'll take those out now rather than wait. Though you could always leave one in, and whoever gets the bay leaf is the one that has to do the dishes. So, all right, so we're just going to let this sit now and let all those flavors incorporate while the pasta's cooking. It should be about 10 minutes from now. The cooking water, you can see it's kind of opaque there. This is full of starch, so we want to collect some of this water if we need it. When we finish cooking the pasta in the sauce, we can add that if it needs a little bit of liquid. So I'm going to drain this pasta, and then we're going to put everything together. All right, put the heat back on with the pasta in there. We're going to add the sauce that we're going to use just for, I'm only doing a couple of portions here, so we don't need all of the sauce. So we're spooning in what we're going to use, and we're going to finish cooking the pasta in that. Now let's take a look and see if we need, yeah, we need some of that the pasta cooking liquid, because this is going to get absorbed very quickly by that pasta. So I'm going to add some of the water there, just a little bit, and we're going to continue cooking it in this. So this is going to make it even more creamy than it already is. It's pretty creamy just from the onions cooking down and the sugars in there. And now a little bit of that starch definitely helps. This is looking good. Okay, so we want to shut the heat off now. And I'm going to add some grated cheese. I've got Parmesan. You can use Pecorino. That would be a little more traditional. Being in Naples, they use a sheep's milk cheese down there usually. So if you have Pecorino Romano, that would work really well in this. And we just mix it in, and that's going to give it an extra richness. Not that it needs it, but I mean, you might as well. This smells incredible. All right, we're going to plate it up, and then going to give it a taste, let you know what it tastes like. All right, pasta alla genovese. You might call it a rare pasta, you know, outside of Italy, because it breaks some of the rules that a lot of non-Italians think of when they think of a pasta sauce. It's no tomato sauce. It's a tomato-free pasta sauce. No garlic either. It's not even really a sauce. It's something a little bit different. So I'm going to give it a taste, and I apologize in advance. There's no pretty way to eat this type of pasta. That's not going to work. When I tell you that this dish is complex, you really have to try it to understand. Think of it like this. Think of it like an onion sauce flavored by beef, rather than beef stew or sauce flavored by onion. You have the sweetness of the onion, really, really deep, rich flavor and creaminess, plus that intense flavor of the beef. This is why I love using a beef cheek, because it's really, really beefy. With every bite, I'm getting something. So it's either going to be a chunk of the beef, or let's give it a try without any of the beef, just pasta and onion. Wow, even just the onion. I mean, this is really, really good. Pair it with a nice dry red, and you've got it made. By the way, I used Sauvignon Blanc for the wine to cook this in. I chose it because it has that acid, which you really need for this dish because the onions are so sweet. So I can still taste a little bit of that wine, even hours later. Not the alcohol, but just the flavors of the wine, the acid, a little bit of the fruitiness to it. Really, the wine works well with the onions. If you have a Sunday sauce that you're looking to do that's something a little bit different, you get the big family coming over, or maybe it's game day and you want to fill the house with those aromas of a long cooked sauce, this is really going to hit the spot. It's something different, but it also at the same time just feels so familiar. I hope that you make this recipe. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you on the next video.